Imagine your friends have ganged up together and turned against your best friend and killed him. Imagine you witnessed the death of your beloved right in front of your eyes and you're hopeless, powerless, and unsuccessful in preventing this from happening. Imagine you are consumed with the thirst for justice, for revenge, and yet at the moment, there's nothing much that you can do. What would you do if you were in such a situation? Welcome back to Random Videos where we discuss Julius Caesar part by part. And today we'll be discussing Act 3, Scene 1, that is Mark Antony's soliloquy. Mark Antony, a character which did not get much importance or the limelight in the previous scenes, is now the center of attention. He is the prime character in this scene. He is the focus of this play. Until now, it was Julius Caesar and Brutus who overshadowed him. But now that Julius Caesar is assassinated by the conspirators, Mark Antony steps up. He wants justice. He wants blood. He wants to avenge the death of his friend. But unfortunately, there is a problem. You see, Mark Antony is the only one in power that actually wants to kill the conspirators, to avenge the death of Caesar. No one else is even ready to express their support for Julius Caesar. And in these difficult moments, Mark Antony has to be extremely careful as to whom he divulges his plans to and to whom he confides in. And in order to prevent the conspirators from discovering his plan, he pretends to be their friend. Mark Antony goes to Brutus and pledges his allegiance to the conspiracy. Now, Cassius has his misgivings. Cassius warns Brutus that Mark Antony, a close friend of Caesar, would not change his mind so quickly and change sides from being a stalwart of Caesar to a supporter of the conspiracy. However, Brutus, being Brutus, a very gullible person, he thinks that Mark Antony has truly changed and that he is reliable and trustworthy. And Brutus also gives Mark Antony the opportunity to address the public, to address the Roman citizens at the funeral of Julius Caesar. And Mark Antony begins his famous soliloquy with this phrase: friends, Romans, countrymen. As I explained in the previous video, this makes much impact on the people of Rome. When he addresses the people, the first term he uses is friends, which means that he considers the Romans as his friends. He doesn't care who they are. He doesn't care whether they are patricians or plebeians, whether they are rich or poor, whether they are slaves or freemen, whether they are men or women. He considers all of them equal to him, and hence he calls them friends. Now, did Mark Antony actually consider them equal to him? Probably not. But did he say this in order to win over their confidence and affection? Certainly. And this one statement, friends, Romans, and countrymen, wins over the attention and the hearts of the people. And the first statement he makes is, I have come here to bury Caesar, not to praise him. So this particular statement is said in order to contradict what Brutus had said previously. So Brutus introduces Mark Antony with these statements. Mark Antony, tending to Caesar's glories, by our permission is allowed to make. Mark Antony is here to praise Caesar and we have allowed him. And Mark Antony says to the people, I'm not here to praise Caesar. I'm here to bury him. I'm here as a friend, grieving for the loss of his best friend. And he further states, the evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. Now you might ask, why is Mark Antony so intent on contradicting what Brutus has said? You have to keep in mind that this is a very, very delicate position that Mark Antony is in. You see, Mark Antony wants to tell the people of Rome, convince the people of Rome, the citizens, the mob gathered at the forum, that the conspirators are directly responsible for the death of Caesar, that they should be held accountable, they should be brought to the light of justice, and they should be punished by death for what they have done. And yet, Mark Antony has no power, no support, and furthermore, he doesn't even know who is his ally and who is his enemy. And hence, to maintain this delicate balance of pretending to be a friend of the conspirators and at the same time work to avenge the death of Caesar, he begins the speech. Mark Antony's speech by far is one of the most beautiful pieces of writing that Shakespeare has ever written. This particular speech masterfully uses sarcasm, irony, and emotion to change the minds of the people. A few moments earlier, the people were all set to make Brutus the king of Rome because they believed that he was the most selfless man in Rome who saved the people from tyranny, who saved the people from a despot that Julius Caesar would have become. But now, Mark Antony has to undo this. He has to change their mind. He has to make the people believe that Brutus is not a selfless person and that he killed Julius Caesar not because he had the interests of the people in mind, but rather that he had his own selfish ulterior motives. And he begins the statement by contradicting what Brutus said. I have not come here to praise Caesar. So, this particular statement is meant to signify to the people that whatever he says is contradictory to what Brutus has said. That whatever Brutus told them so far is not true. And then he continues. He says, the good is oft interred, the good is buried when a person dies, but the evil actions that a person has made lives on forever. Now, this doesn't point out at anyone in particular. It can be referring to the evil done by the conspirators, which will prevail even after their death, or it may be referring to the good deeds done by Julius Caesar, which have come to an end along with his life. And yet, he makes this statement to cast aspersions about the conspirators and sow the seeds of doubt in the minds of the people. The people are now confused. Is Brutus really who he is? Are the conspirators actually concerned about the welfare of the people? Or is it just some wheel in a grand machine of power struggle? And Mark Antony continues. He says, the noble Brutus had told you, Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Brutus told you that Caesar had committed a big mistake. He committed an extremely big mistake by trying to become the king of Rome, and he paid a price for it. Caesar wanted to become a king, going directly against the republican principles of Rome, and he paid the price, his own life. And then he says, here under the leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, and so are they all honorable men. And now he refers to Brutus as an honorable man. And this one particular statement he just keeps on repeating over and over again. And you may wonder, why does Mark Antony keep on referring to the people of Rome? Why does he keep on referring to Brutus? Why does he keep telling the people of Rome that Brutus is an honorable man? We'll get to that. And then he continues talking about intimate, personal experiences of his life. Rather than praising Julius Caesar's virtues, his campaigns, his successes, his victories, Mark Antony brings up small details that portray Julius Caesar as a humane and emotional leader. And he says, I come as I speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. I'm not here as a supporter or an ally. I'm here as a friend. I'm here to talk about my personal friendship with Caesar. I'm not here to talk about his political successes. I'm not here to talk about his military victories. I'm not here to talk about him as a leader of Rome. I'm here to talk about him as a human being and my relationship with this person. And then he says, Caesar was always loyal to me. He was always faithful to me. He was a friend to me. Now, Brutus told you that he was ambitious. Brutus told you that he was ambitious. I don't know because I never witnessed his ambition. Here, Antony is trying to convince the people of Rome that whatever Brutus told them may not be true. He is indirectly demanding the people of Rome to question everything that Brutus told them. Why do you accept the word of Brutus as gospel? Why do you accept the word of Brutus as the truth when you can contemplate, when you can judge for yourselves the actions of Caesar? Was Caesar truly a despot who deserved to die? Or was he a victim of a power struggle? And then he says, Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? Brutus claims that Caesar was a greedy person, that he wanted all the wealth for himself. But truth be told, every time Caesar invaded a foreign country, every time he brought in prisoners of war, they paid him tribute. And do you know where he deposited this tribute? He deposited it in the public treasury. He gave all the money that he had obtained in his battle with foreign nations to the Roman public. He never kept a single penny for himself. Now, is this the act of an ambitious person? Is this the act of a greedy person? He asks this rhetoric question. Now, the people are supposed to answer it, and Antony doesn't say anything. He just poses a question and leaves it at that. But we should all believe Brutus, he says, because Brutus is an honorable man. He's incapable of lying. So whatever Brutus tells you has to be the truth. no matter whether it is true or not. Even if what Brutus says is contradictory to what you have seen, even if what Brutus claims to be is true, is contrary to what people have witnessed in reality, we need to believe Brutus because he's an honorable man, and an honorable man is incapable of lying. And then he says, when the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was an ambitious man, and Brutus is an honorable man. Brutus claimed that Caesar was a hard hearted man who did not care about the people. Now you observed, Antony says to the people, you observed that every time the poor were crying, Caesar wept. He shed tears. He felt the pain of the poor. What kind of hard hearted, cruel despot would cry for his people? What kind of authoritarian dictator would feel compassion, sympathy, pain for the condition of his people, for the plight of his people? Now, if Julius Caesar was a cruel person, then he should have been a little more hard hearted, because crying for the people is not a characteristic of a cruel man. But yet, Brutus claims that Julius Caesar was a cruel man, and we all have to believe that he was a cruel man because Brutus is an honorable man, one who is incapable of lying. You all did see that on Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says that he was ambitious, and sure, he's an honorable man. If you don't believe any of these statements, just take the example of the festival of Lupercal. Mark Antony had offered Julius Caesar a wreath of flowers to Julius Caesar on the festival of Lupercal 3 times, asking him to be the king of Rome. And Julius Caesar refused every time Mark Antony offered him. And now Mark Antony says, does this action look like that of a person wanting to be a king? If Julius Caesar was so intent on becoming a king, why did he refuse the crown? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. But yet, we ought to believe Brutus because Brutus is an honorable man. He is incapable of lying. So we should not believe our own eyes, but believe the words of Brutus. Mark Antony very cleverly juxtaposes the falsehoods made by Brutus with the truths that the people themselves observed. That is akin to what I may say. Imagine a friend told you that the earth is a cube, and then you have seen it for yourself. You have ample evidence. You have studied at school. You know it, that earth is a sphere. And I tell you, you should believe your friend because your friend never tells lies. So even though you know the earth is a sphere, that's not true because your friend can't lie. So whatever he tells you must be correct. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? And that is what Mark Antony tries to show. That Brutus's statements, Brutus's claims are contrary to reality. And yet he expects the people of Rome to believe what he says, even though it goes against what they have seen. It goes against what they have observed. It goes against what they know. At this juncture, the people realize what is going on here. And then he continues his statement saying, I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but I am to speak what I do know. I'm not here to say that Brutus is wrong. I'm here to say that you need to see what you have seen. You need to know what you already know. You all did love him once, not without cause. Brutus may tell you that Julius Caesar was a cruel man who was only obsessed with power. But you, the people of Rome, loved him. Now, you wouldn't love Julius Caesar without a good reason. You all supported him. There was a good reason why you supported him. Now, do you think that you supported him because he was a bad person and that Brutus is the one who made you realize that you were supporting a bad person? This particular statement makes Mark Antony tell the people to directly question their actions. He says that Brutus's statement is claiming to be better than what the people know. Brutus has made a direct attack at the judgment of the people. Brutus says that Julius Caesar was a bad person. But the people always loved Julius Caesar because they believe that he's a good person. Now, does that mean all of the people were wrong? Imagine you were in that position. Someone questions your judgment, your credibility. No, what you think is wrong. You are not good at judging people. You would feel offended. And the people feel offended. They feel that who is Brutus to question our credibility? Who is Brutus to say that we are wrong and he is right? Who is he? And this is what Mark Antony wanted, and that is why he says, Brutus is questioning your judgment. So here Mark Antony makes the people question Brutus's judgment. And now the story doesn't end here, it continues. Mark Antony has not achieved his goal of convincing the people fully. So, to know what happens next, stay tuned and watch the next video of this part, Act 3, Scene 2, Mark Antony's soliloquy. Stay subscribed to random videos, turn on the notifications so that you will get the freshest of fresh videos every time we release them.